over the likes of John McEnroe, Peter Fleming, Boris Becker, Pete Sampras, Stefan Edberg. When you look back at the career that you had as a tennis player, what's your favorite victory? Which one floats to the top?
Well, I would say any of them. The competition is just so fierce, and everybody's so good. I get that question a lot, and my response is any time I got a win was a good win. The competition's even gotten better and stronger. Athletes have gotten more physical. It's just incredible what's happened in the sport of tennis. But certainly, getting to the quarters of Wimbledon and the wins I had along the way, is up there at the top. But any time I beat one of the legends, those were the matches I really got up for, and was excited to get those wins.
And that's big time, and it's an exciting period right now because Wimbledon's going on right now. What's this time like every year as you kind of relive what happened in 1990 with you?
Yeah, it brings back great memories, traditions of Wimbledon, and the grass, and just kind of the pomp and pageantry. The
strawberries and cream.
Strawberries and cream, yeah. Just good memories. I was there. I played that event almost 12 times. So I played in the junior event when I was a junior player. So spent a lot of my lifetime there in London during this time of the year.
As you watch the tournament this year, and I know this is a question you probably get a lot, but who do you root for as a guy that has played on those courts and now you're just an onlooker?
Well, I admire so many of the players. I just want to see good competitive matches, and of course we're going to get that. It's always fun to watch, the guys, the gritty competitors, the tough 5-set matches that go down to the wire. I don't really have any favorites. I just kind of like to watch everybody.
Give us an idea of what it's like to walk out to center court there at Wimbledon, that experience.
Yeah. So when I played Lendl in 90 in the quarters, I'd never played on center court before. And so it kind of caught me by surprise when they changed our court. We were originally scheduled to play on court 2, which they call the graveyard court. And
why do they call it that?
Because a lot of the top players had lost on that court through the years.
Gotcha.
So I'd beaten Mark Woodford there, who was a great player, a legend, a doubles legend, and in straight sets. So I was feeling pretty confident. Let me back up. I don't think I was feeling confident against the number one player in the world, but I certainly felt comfortable playing on that court. Mm-hmm. And just before we were kind of getting ready for the match, the warm-ups, somebody from the referee's office came and said, "Mr. Pearce, we've changed you to center court. So you were no longer playing on court 2. You are now playing on center court." So that kind of changed the dynamic of the match for me in a dramatic way. No big deal for Lendl. He'd played there many times. So obviously now it was worldwide television and bowing to the royal box, and I hope I don't mess that up. And so all these thoughts, the first guy in the world to bungle that. So all these thoughts are going through my mind, and someone from the tournament committee, they have you in a little bit of a holding room before they get the TV and you go out onto the court. And we're sitting there, and someone from the committee's telling me about all the protocol, and nothing's registering at all. I'm just thinking about the match, and I don't want to blow this. I don't want to make a fool of myself. So nothing's registering at all. And so we go out onto the court, and I'm really grateful to Lendl for this. He's become I don't know if I could say he's a friend, but I always have had a great respect and admiration for his gesture. As we were walking out, he kind of whispered to me. He said, "Hey, just do what I do and you'll be fine." I think he sensed that I was a little nervous. I'd never been on center court before and never done the bow to the box. And so I thought that was really kind and sensitive of him, as we're going out to compete against each other.
Did you nail it?
Yeah, I think I did okay. I wish I had playback of that, but I didn't have any repercussions from it, so I guess I did okay.
Well, here's the thing. If you hadn't nailed it, there wasn't like the social media craze back then.
True.
So, at least you had that working in your favor, but you nailed it.
I would have been ribbed from my family, for probably for the rest of my life. But
Brad Pearce with us on BYU Sports Nation, the men's tennis coach here at BYU, two-time NCAA All-American. We're just talking about some of his experiences at Wimbledon. And I'm gathering from just talking with you that you can take away some serious experiences and lessons to use in your future. What are some of the lessons that you take away from Wimbledon that you share with your team?
Well, I think certainly things that we talk about on a regular basis are preparation. You don't just arrive for those big occasions without a lot of preparation, a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices made along the way. So we certainly try to instill in my players, the idea that, we've got to be prepared for those big matches, those big occasions well ahead of time. And then when you get in the moment, you just focus on the here and now, the present. You don't get caught up in the future or, bad mistakes in the past. And so I think it kind of becomes a mental battle. Once you're on the court, your game is what it is up to that point. So then it just kind of becomes controlling your emotions and rising to the occasion at the appropriate time.
Brad, you wrote a book that I imagine those life lessons are in, but tell us about the book that is new that you wrote.
Yeah, so I did an Education Week presentation, pretty much the same title that ended up being the title of the book. And so I spoke on the topic. This was 2012. And I felt like the people that were there that listened to the presentation, it was well received. And so at the end, after a couple of people came down and asked some questions, the last person in the room introduced herself and said she was an acquisitions editor for Cedar Fort Publishing. Said that she listened to the presentation, liked some of the ideas that I presented, thought they were, I think the word she used was fresh. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a good word and compelling, and asked me there on the spot if I'd be willing to expand upon some of the themes that I spoke on and write a book that they would publish.
Yeah, what better way than to put it in print?
Yeah, so almost 3 years later, it took me a long time to kind of think through what I actually wanted to say. I didn't necessarily want to write a so-called sports book. It's not like I'm a legend of the sport. I had some great wins and I had a successful career, but it's not like I'm Pete Sampras and multiple Grand Slam champion. So I really wanted to write about those things that I felt could help certainly youth, about goal setting, sacrificing, aligning with the goals that you set, something that I thought would be of value to anybody, regardless of whether they were even involved in sports or were pursuing academics, the arts, music, whatever. So I wanted to write something that was applicable to a broad range of people and goals and so forth.
Well, here it is. Life lessons from center court at Wimbledon. Lavelle Edwards, the great man, has given his stamp of approval to it, as many others have, of course, by Brad Pearce. We have copies, and so we're fortunate that we have association with you. But for those across BYU Sports Nation that want to get their hands on it, how do they do that?
Well, BYU Bookstore is a good place. Deseret Book carries it. Amazon online, Barnes & Noble, Siegel. When it debuted, it on Amazon, it was the #1 new release in racket sports at the time.
Nice.
So I feel like it's been well received, and as I said, I think it covers topics that I think are applicable to really anyone.
Ain't no party like a Wimbledon party, right, Coach? So what are you doing this Saturday? You're playing doubles with the governor?
Yeah. So
is he any good?
He is a good player.
Yeah?
Yeah, he
Okay.
is. He's a very good player.
BYU grad, I believe.
So I'm looking for him to carry me.
You got it. You just go up front. I'll get everything behind you.
Right. Yeah. So as kind of the official book launch for the book, I teamed with the Utah Tennis Association, And we felt it kind of tying in. If you remember the old breakfast at Wimbledon they used to have on NBC, I remember those mornings from my days as a youth. And so I thought that would kind of be a fun way to tie into the Wimbledon theme and, of yesteryear, and a good way to launch the book and create some excitement as well about tennis in the community. And so we worked and called up the governor's office and got him involved as my partner. I think that'll be fun. And actually, T.C. Christensen is going to be the fourth. He's going to team with Brian Marchant, who's the director of tennis at Liberty Park.
And TC's a famous filmmaker, right?
Right,
Yeah.
correct. So I wasn't aware that he was an avid tennis player, so I've never met him. So we'll meet across the net, and hopefully it'll be friendly.
Listen,
We'll
Jeremy,
see Saturday.
Jeremy and I are never going to be great tennis players, but we do want to get involved. Especially Jeremy. He wants to be a ball boy at some point. Can you make that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a little tryout.
The little sprint across.
Make sure you can do the right throw. If you
I gotta work on
review the Wimbledon tape, you can see how those throws are made.
If Rick Riley can do it, I can do it.
We want to
That's all I
ramp.
have to
We
say.
want to ramp up some of your home matches in the future with Jerem Jordan as a featured ball boy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And you have pizza, right? At the
Pizza,
matches?
yes.
You guys are the famous pizza
Yes,
team.
yes, very good. Yes, we'll make sure we have some pizza for you as well.
What kind of pizza is it?
You name it. What would you like? We'll have it there for you.
We'll talk after.
He's got to think
Stuffed
about
crust, Domino's, sausage, yeah, all that.
All right, okay.
There's no easy answer. Life Lessons from Center Court at Wimbledon, written by Brad Pearce. He's our featured guest at Studio B right now. Check it out. Great read. And we remind, please,
Sick.
sign our Rise Up flag before you go, Coach.
All right.